At the beginning of the story, there's this spooky mansion called Centerville. A guy named Lord Monroe just moved in there. Before him, lots of people tried living in Centerville, but they all got scared and left because they thought there was a ghost haunting the place. They said Sir Simon's spirit would wander around the mansion. So, to feel safe, Lord Monroe starts sleeping in a room with his teddy bear. Lord Monroe doesn't pay much attention when a crow hits the window. He goes into the room. As he moves towards the house, Simon's ghost living in the mansion's wall comes out and scares Lord Monroe. He starts running away with his teddy bear Tips. Simon tries to attack Lord Monroe with a carpet, making the teddy bear fall. When Monroe goes to pick it up, the teddy bear starts talking and tells him to leave the mansion. Lord Monroe is horrified, but realizes Tips is causing all this because of the ghost. He runs away with Tips, and in the next scene, we meet an American royal family member named Hyam, who recently moved to England with his family. They purchased the Centerville mansion, so they were heading towards Centerville with their children Kent, Louis, Virginia, and wife Lucadia. The mansion and its surroundings seemed spooky, but Mr. Hyam didn't believe in ghosts. He reassured his children that it was all just superstition and ignorance. Upon entering the mansion, they were greeted by the caretaker. Miss Omni arrived, and Kat and Louis started playing together. Mr. Hyam mentioned his plan to install modern electric bulbs in the mansion. Virginia, wanting to host a fancy dinner for their friends, was examining the mansion when she heard a creepy noise from behind a painting. She felt like the painting was watching her, which scared her so much that she ran back to her family. Virginia's father informs her about a large bookshelf in the mansion that she will enjoy. Virginia then mentions to her father that there is a similar bookshelf where they used to live. Virginia is not happy about moving from America to England. Miss Omni shares a spooky story about Sir Simon Ghost's voice being heard in the mansion for the past 300 years, causing people to go crazy. Mr. Hyam dismisses it as nonsense. Later, Mr. Hyam's sons dress up as ghosts, scaring Miss Omni. At night, Virginia admires her room, but then expresses her dislike for it. Her mother invites her for dinner, but Virginia declines. While in her room, Virginia finds a mysterious book about the Centerville mansion and falls asleep reading it. The windows in her room open, and she hears strange noises, making her scared. The very next second, Sir Simon's ghost appears in front of Virginia. Virginia, being curious, decides to secretly follow Sir Simon's ghost. They both enter a room where the people of the Centerville mansion are still present. The room is filled with photographs of all the owners. Sir Simon scares everyone, and they all run away from the mansion. Suddenly, Sir Simon notices Virginia's presence and starts chasing her. This frightens Virginia, and she gets scared and angry. She quickly enters a room and closes the door, but Sir Simon, being a ghost, passes through the door and continues to scare Virginia. Surprisingly, Virginia is not afraid of Sir Simon's ghost at all. Sir Simon is completely surprised by this. He wonders why Virginia is not scared of him. Virginia confidently tells him that her family is not afraid of him either. She challenges him to stop scaring them and warns him that he should try scaring her family if he has the courage. Sir Simon confidently claims that he will scare her family and make them leave the mansion, just like he did with the others. He tells Virginia that she doesn't need to keep her belongings in the mansion because soon she will leave with her family. They then go to Mr. Hyam's room to scare him, but to their surprise, Mr. Hyam and his wife are not afraid of Sir Simon's ghost. In fact, Mr. Hyam brings Sir Simon's ghost into his room and asks for privacy before throwing him out. Sir Simon is puzzled by the fact that no one is afraid of him. As he leaves the room, he encounters Mr. Hyam's two sons. He assumes that the children will be scared of him, but they start playing football with his head instead. Sir Simon's child manages to escape with great difficulty and finds his way to a secret room. Inside the room, the skull informs Sir Simon's child, Ghost, that his powers are weakening because it has been almost 300 years since his death. Ghost is shocked to learn that so much time has passed. The next morning, Virginia goes for a horse ride outside the mansion. Along the way, she hears someone screaming and sees a boy riding his horse frantically, calling for help. The boy doesn't know how to ride a horse and is heading towards a ditch. Virginia rushes to his aid, jumps on his horse, and saves him from falling into the ditch. The boy introduces himself as Henry, a member of the royal family, just like Virginia. They quickly become good friends, and Virginia decides to bring Henry to live in the Centerville mansion. Henry is completely surprised by this gesture. Virginia used to live in the Centerville mansion, but Henry was afraid to go there because it was haunted. On their way, a black crow attacks Henry and knocks him off his horse. Meanwhile, Virginia notices a closed door leading to a mysterious garden. With Henry's help, she climbs over the garden wall and sees the owner working inside. Virginia becomes curious about the owner and wants to learn more. As she looks at Henry and talks to him, the owner of the garden approaches them, leaving Virginia completely surprised. The garden owner cuts a rose, and Virginia faints and falls against the wall. But guess what? The owner of the garden was actually Death, and the garden was called Death Garden. Later on, Virginia enters the garden, even though she doesn't want to, and Henry goes to get tea for her despite her refusal. He believes that tea can help people heal. While in the garden, Virginia spots the same black crow that attacked Henry and knocked him off his horse. Virginia starts chasing the crow and ends up at a pond. She sees a locket in the water and jumps in to collect it. But when she tries to come out with the locket, the plants in the pond grab onto her and try to drown her. Luckily, Henry arrives just in time to rescue Virginia and save her life. They both go to the Centerville mansion, where Virginia tells Miss Omni about the gardener. Miss Omni is completely surprised because there hasn't been a gardener in that garden for the past 30 years. When Virginia opens the locket she found in the pond, she discovers a picture of Sir Simon and his wife Eleanor. Miss Omni tells Virginia that Sir Simon killed his wife Eleanor by drowning her in a loch 300 years ago, and ever since then, Sir Simon's soul has been wandering. Virginia is shocked to hear this because she thought Sir Simon and Eleanor were happy together. Now, Virginia's two brothers arrive with their moms and complain to their mom about Virginia. They ask her to punish Virginia, but she doesn't listen to them and is happy about it. Henry is with Virginia and tells her to save her own life, but Virginia doesn't like any of this, so Henry leaves. In the next scene, we see Sir Simon's ghost using a skeleton to scare Hyam. He takes off his head and puts it on the skeleton to frighten Hyam. Hyam is doing some experiments in the lab when Simon goes there and tries to scare him. But Hyam is not scared at all and his photo is taken. This scares Simon and he becomes very sad. Hyam tells him to stay away from his electric device, but Simon says that he is a ghost and can touch anything he wants. He touches the device and starts getting strong electric shocks. Hyam saves him by turning off the device. Simon walks away sadly. In the next scene, Virginia is reading about Sir Simon and his wife in a book. When she sees Sir Simon leaving with a sad heart, she starts making fun of his joke. When Sir Simon notices his wife Eleanor's locket on Virginia's neck, he asks for it back, claiming it belongs to his wife. Virginia refuses, accusing him of killing his wife by drowning her. Simon denies the accusation, explaining that he and Eleanor were actors who loved each other deeply. He recounts the tragic incident where Eleanor fell into the water while he was performing near a weak bridge. Despite his efforts to save her, she disappeared, leading him to roam as a ghost for 300 years. Virginia tries to cheer him up by taking him for a drive to a tree, where they have fun together. Simon even starts driving the car, bringing happiness to both of them. However, Simon cannot leave the mansion's gate, leaving Virginia to visit the mango tree alone the next day. There, she discovers the initials S.E. carved on the tree, representing Sir Simon and Eleanor. Simon appears and teaches Virginia how to use a sword, emphasizing the importance of love in making life beautiful. After a while, Virginia's mom shows up and takes Virginia with her on a mission. Today, there were visitors at the house, and Virginia met Reverend Chasal and his wife Alger. Virginia finds out that Alger is a ghost hunter who came to the mansion to capture Sir Simon's ghost. When Alger tells Virginia that Sir Simon killed his wife by drowning her in the loch, Virginia gets mad at Alger, and they start arguing because Alger knows about Sir Simon and his wife's death. The next moment Sir Simon also arrives, and he gets angry at Chasal and Alger. He scares them really badly and kicks them out of the house. Virginia's mom is furious when she sees this. Virginia complains to Hyam about Sir Simon. After hearing everything, Hyam tries to explain things to Virginia, but she is already very angry at her parents, so she storms off without listening to them. Meanwhile, in Virginia's presence, the two brothers manage to frighten Sir Simon's ghost greatly. When Virginia encounters Sir Simon, she notices his deep sadness as no one fears him anymore. Consequently, he retreats to his secret room with a heavy heart. In the following scene, Virginia and Henry decide to revive the mango tree's lush greenery by following the instructions in a book they found in the mansion. According to the book, once the almond tree bears fruit, everything will be restored. Sir Simon observes their actions with interest. However, Sir Simon suddenly confronts Virginia and Henry, attacking Henry because he knows that Henry belongs to the Chancellor family, just like Sir Simon. Virginia manages to save Henry from Sir Simon's assault. After Henry leaves, Virginia herself departs, angry at Sir Simon for attempting to harm Henry. She confronts Sir Simon and warns him to stop vandalizing the mansion, as she plans to host a lavish dinner for the royal family and her friends in the near future. Upon hearing this, Sir Simon arrogantly claims ownership of the house and declares that he will touch everything. However, when he tries to touch an electric bulb, he receives a strong electric shock, leaving him terrified since it is his first encounter with electricity. Later, Hyam organizes a grand dinner at the Centerville mansion for all the members of the royal family and their friends. Surprisingly, Henry is also invited to this special dinner. Virginia is super excited to meet Henry because she's somehow started to like him too. But then, Sir Simon gets really mad when he sees Henry in the mansion. He doesn't like him at all. Everything was going well with Hyam and his family, and all the guests were happy. But suddenly, the power goes out and a spooky ghost with a pumpkin head appears. Everyone gets scared. They explain to Henry that it's just their two prankster friends, but then the ghost turns into Sir Simon, who is furious that Henry came to the mansion. He starts causing chaos and attacking the guests. Sir Simon even tries to kill Henry with his sword. Luckily, Virginia stops him just in time. But then, Sir Simon sets the mansion on fire and tries to harm Virginia's brothers. Virginia tries her best to save her brothers and escape with Henry, but Henry ends up getting trapped inside the burning mansion. Worried, Virginia goes back inside to find him, but the fire keeps growing. Seeing Henry and Virginia in danger, Sir Simon realizes his mistake. He uses his powers to put out the fire and clears a path for them to escape. Finally, Virginia and Henry are able to leave, but now Virginia is really mad at Sir Simon. In the next scene, we find out that Virginia, angry at the destruction caused by Sir Simon, has called a lady who catches ghosts. And guess what? It turns out to be Algeria. When she spots a powerful weapon to harm Virginia, she quickly realizes that Sir Simon is in trouble because Alger is about to capture Simon and conduct experiments on him. In order to save Sir Simon, Virginia seeks help from her two brothers, and they need to distract Alger. Virginia embarks on a mission to find Sir Simon. Meanwhile, Virginia's two brothers try to divert their parents' attention and the Ghostbuster lady's attention, while Virginia somehow manages to locate Sir Simon. She urgently instructs him to leave the place. Sir Simon feels extremely sorrowful because he is unable to leave the mansion. He confides in Virginia that he has been awake for the past 300 years, and now he remembers his wife Eleanor. Sir Simon also reveals to Virginia that he despises Henry because Henry's ancestor, his great-grandfather, had destroyed the bridge and set a trap for Sir Simon. Unfortunately, Sir Simon's wife Eleanor got trapped in the trap and was killed along with Henry. Virginia's grandparents falsely accused Sir Simon of murdering Eleanor, which led to his death sentence in the Centerville mansion. Since then, he has been awake. Soon, the Ghostbuster lady was about to reach him. Virginia decided to leave with Simon, and they headed towards the death garden outside the mansion. Sir Simon had informed Virginia that the only way to free his soul was by entering the garden. As they approached the garden, they noticed mantras written on the gate. Virginia spoke to Simon and opened the garden door. Despite Simon's warning about the potential danger, Virginia was determined to do whatever it took to set them free. Meanwhile, Henry is also making his way to the mansion to meet Virginia, but he is scared because of Simon. Later, Virginia's family members arrived at the garden door in search of her and found her lying on the ground. Unbeknownst to Virginia, the garden she had entered with Simon was the death garden, where one had to die before entering. The ritual had been completed while reciting the mantras, resulting in Virginia's death without her knowledge. Inside the death garden, Virginia and Simon encountered Death as the master. Virginia pleaded with Death to free Simon's soul. After hearing her request, Death agreed, but on the condition that Virginia would have to die in return. Virginia was completely shocked to learn that she would have to sacrifice her life in order to free Sir Simon. Determined to escape, she tried to flee from the garden. Unfortunately, her efforts were in vain as Henry had also arrived near the Death Garden, but he couldn't see Virginia inside. Just as Death was about to take Virginia's life, Sir Simon bravely confronted him and challenged him to a fight. They made a deal that if Sir Simon won, Death would have to release Virginia. Death agreed, but if Sir Simon lost, he would be taken to the Death Garden forever, just like Virginia. The fight between Sir Simon and Death was intense and dangerous. Meanwhile, Virginia's parents were desperately trying to bring her back to her senses outside the Death Garden. As the battle raged on, Death suddenly transformed into a fearsome dragon. The dragon easily defeated Sir Simon, but before it could kill him, Virginia arrived and joined the fight against the Death Dragon. However, Virginia couldn't hold her ground for long and was soon defeated. Just when all hope seemed lost, Henry managed to enter the Death Garden and joined forces with Virginia to fight the Death Dragon. Virginia was overjoyed to see Henry there, and together they faced the daunting challenge ahead. Sir Simon watches as Virginia and Henry confront the Death Dragon together. If they fail, they end up fighting Death once more. A fierce battle ensues between Sir Simon and Death, resulting in both defeating each other simultaneously. As a result, the match ends in a draw. Sir Simon then decides to remain in the Death Garden forever, urging Virginia and Henry to leave in his place. True to her word, Death releases Virginia and Henry from the Death Garden. Virginia exits and Sir Simon transforms into a statue. Virginia, now alive, reunites with her delighted parent. She meets Henry and tragically passes away. Virginia opens the garden door, enters, and sits in front of Sir Simon's statue, weeping for her lost friend. The mango tree regains its green color, breaking the curse and freeing Sir Simon, who joyfully reunites with his wife Eleanor. Virginia, Henry, and Virginia's family are overjoyed by this turn of events. Virginia and Henry marry and live happily ever after. The movie concludes with an ambiguous ending. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.